What's up, Wizards? I'm your host, Coy Cook.
And I'm your co-host, Billy Payne.
Today, we're going to be talking about a deck tech that you're going to see on the next episode of Wizard Wars. Coming up. Alright, so today's a very special episode because today we get to announce the winner of the 3 packs of Ultimate Masters because we hit 100 subscribers just like we wanted to. So now we get to roll the dice to see who wins. So we've got a list of names here, and Billy's gonna roll a die, and whoever's name corresponds with that is gonna get the Ultimate Masters pack. So here we go.
So here's the dice. Here's the roll. Good luck, everybody.
22.
22.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Base mana. Base mana. You won the Ultimate Masters pack, so congratulations. Send us a message. We're going to send you a message too. Get in touch with us. We will send you those Ultimate Masters packs as soon as possible. Today, we're going to be doing a deck tech about Kynaios and Tiro of Meletis. It's a very big mouthful, and I can hardly say it. Make sure you check out the bloopers at the end of the reel, just so
you'll understand how much trouble we had with this name.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so today's a deck tech, and we hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys check out the tapped out link below for cards that we don't cover today, just so you can get a clear image of what the deck's supposed to do. But we do go over a lot of stuff. So the next thing that we want to do is give a shout out to all of our patrons. So if you guys are interested in supporting our channel, make sure you go over to patreon.com/mtgalchemy and you can support the show directly from there. We have a couple of tiers. So our first tier is the Apprentice tier. It's $1 a month. You guys will get to vote on which commanders you want to see played on Wizard Wars and be involved with our community developing future content. You will also have a random chance at a shout out on one of our videos. So today we're actually shouting out to Leland Edison. You're the cheese knees, man.
Absolutely.
So you guys rock for helping us support our channel, and we're actually going to be doing something very special for all of our patrons today. So you guys will get to see that here in just a second. Our second tier is the Mage tier. So the Mage tier is $5 a month. You get everything that you get in the Apprentice tier, except on the Mage tier, you guys will get a random card randomly signed by one of the members of MTG Alchemy. So that could be me, it could be Billy, it could be CJ, it could be Joey, and there's some other cast members that you haven't even seen yet, but we're definitely going to get those guys out there for you so you guys know who they are. So today, Leland, I am signing 100-Handed One. That is going to be the card that you get from us today at MTG Alchemy, and I'm going to sign that one. So, you will be getting this in the mail from us very shortly. We really appreciate you guys, and we want to make sure that we're giving back to our patrons as much as we can. We'll make sure that you guys always get something from us. That way you guys know that we're making progress and that you guys are very appreciated in our Patreon, because you guys are ultimately what keeps our show going. You keep the lights on, you keep these cameras running, and you keep our scripts in front of us. So we really hope you guys jump over to Patreon and support us over there. Be really nice. Thank you so much. All right, so today we are going to break down this deck tech in sections. So we're going to talk about fetch, we're going to talk about flash, we're going to talk about buddy cards, too good a friend cards, and then your win conditions. So ultimately, this deck is it's definitely about making friends. You want to make friends, especially in the beginning of the game, but you also want to do enough where you're not behind everybody else. You want to help other people out, but at the same time, your ultimate goal is to help yourself, right? So, Billy, you've played against this deck a few times. it's fun, but it
Until it's not.
Until it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's great getting extra mana, getting extra cards in hand, being able to play all your cool stuff.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, I have too many cards in hand.
Right.
Or Koi has a million things on the board that I didn't see coming. It's crazy.
Right. So anyway, we're going to talk about all that stuff. But before we do that, Kynaios and Tiro of Meletis. So at the beginning of your end step, it first of all is 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green, and 1 red for a 2/8. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Each player may put a land card from his or her hand onto the battlefield. Then each opponent who didn't draws a card. So at the beginning of my end step, because this is the deck that I'm going to be playing on the next episode of Wizard Wars. At the beginning of my end step, I get to draw a card, and if I have a land in hand, I also get to play a land. Now for everybody else, they get to draw a card or play a land. They cannot do both. So it benefits me more than it benefits them, but you can see where that's kind of friendly, you know?
Yeah, plus it's kind of hard to get rid of as a 2/8. So,
Right,
I mean,
right.
you have to
Unless you
gotta
got
work for it.
right,
So.
unless you got Death Touch or something, it's up there.
But the thing is, do you really want to get rid of it when you're getting an advantage on each of your turns? You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's a double-edged sword.
Right. Everybody gets an advantage. Everybody gets to do something, and that's ultimately what the entire deck wants to do. But so I just want to touch briefly on some of the cards that make the deck work. So we're going to talk about fetch first. So fetch, the first one in fetch is gamble. So gamble is a 1-drop sorcery. Basically, go get anything you want. And then the problem with it is, though, you go get any card you want to, but then you have to discard a card at random. So you don't know whether you're going to actually end up with a card that you went and got or not. But regardless, being able to fetch for that is a really good...
Right. And if you've got plenty of cards in hand, it'll be easier for you to keep that.
Right, and you guys will see later on, this deck loves to have its basically entire deck in your hand.
I've actually seen that before.
Yeah. You put you put Reliquary Tower out on the field as a land. You got no maximum hand size, or Krufix God of Horizons, no maximum hand size, and you'll have your entire deck in your hand before you know it. It's pretty crazy. The next one is Mystical Tutor. I think everybody knows what Mystical Tutor does. So 1-drop instant. Go get an instant or sorcery card and put it on top of your deck. Shuffle your library and then put it on top of your deck. And then Enlightened Tutor. Search your library for an artifact or enchantment card and reveal that card. Shuffle your library, then put that card on top of it. So you get to go get an artifact or an enchantment, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. We're going to talk about enchantments and artifacts that you need to go get with Enlightened Tutor. So that's a really good fetch card. And then
it's 1 white, so
right, 1 white.
Such a low cost to
Right.
go get something that's so powerful, especially in this deck.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 1-drop to go get what you need. And then just another brief topic is stuff like Adamas Reach for mana fixing. You want to be able to go get mana that you need. And Nature's Lure. Nature's Lure is a 2-drop. You get to go get a force card and put it right on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So it's really good. You want all that mana fixing in this deck because it is a 4-color deck. You want to make sure that you've got all of those pieces in place so that you can do different things. And then, so one of the biggest combos we want to talk about is the Sunforger and Mistville Plains combo.
Which is why Enlightened Tutor is such a big deal.
Right. Enlightened Tutor is such a big deal because, okay, so Sunforger is a big deal. It's a 3-drop artifact. The 3-drop artifact, equipped creature gets +4/+0, and the equip cost is 3. So you play it for 3, you equip it for 3, and then here's where the real fun starts. You can pay a red and a white, unattach Sunforger at instant speed. Unattached Sunforger, search your library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and cast that card without paying its mana cost. And then shuffle your library. So, with that, you can go get a number of things. You can go get Enlightened Tutor back if you need to go, get something out of your deck. You can get Teferi's Protection. You can get Angel's Grace. You can get Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares. all of these spells to keep you safe
For free.
for free. And then with Mistveiled Plains, all you got to do is tap a white, tap Mistveiled Plains, put that card back in your deck, and then go get it again. So it's endless.
It's nasty. What's really great is when you get Swords to Plowshares like 3 times in a turn. That's super fun from my end of it, which I'm pretty sure you've done that to me a couple of times.
Right,
So,
yeah. You're going to do that? I'm going to unequip. All right, first of all, I'm going to tap a Plains, tap Mistveiled Plains, put this card back in my deck, and then I'm going to unattach Sunforger and then just go get it. Yeah. And then do it again. Bam.
So bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I mean, it's good for him.
It's a great
bad for the rest of us.
Card for you when you're trying to mess up your play group and really trying to figure out a way to get around all of their nonsense as well. Because, I mean, other people are playing with, like, Animar. Of course, Cody's going to end up playing with a life gain deck, I think, which we're going to do a deck tech on that as well. So you'll get to see all of these decks before we actually play it on the show. But people are playing these decks that are obviously really bad for you, so you need as much protection in this deck as you can get for when they find out that you're not actually their friend per se.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna go into the flash. So the flash part of this is really cool, and it's also why you need stuff like mystical, like Enlightened Tutor, because you can go get Vidalcan Orrery. Vidalcan Orrery is a 4-drop artifact. You may play non-land cards anytime you could play an instant. So now, on everybody else's turn, you get to play whatever you want. Sorcery, creature, anything. Whatever you want at instant speed. The control aspect of that is ridiculous, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, because there's so many times when you have a sorcery that can, take care of a problem.
Right.
But you can't play it because
it's a
on
sorcery.
their turn.
Right.
So
right.
That just fixes
and especially when you need a board wipe.
Oh,
but you can't because it's not your turn, and most of them are sorceries anyway. So
right.
So you're able to play stuff like Day of Judgment on your turn. I can play Day of Judgment on your turn, wipe the board, and it's done on someone else's turn, and that's huge. Being able to cast a sorcery on somebody else's turn.
Or even worse, someone's going to attack you with fatal damage, and you throw out a Platinum Angel on their turn, and it's just
Right. Platinum Angel, bam, can't lose the game.
Yep.
Done. Anyways, we're going to get to Platinum Angel here in a second. But, so another flash enabler is Leyline of Anticipation. This one's even better. It's a 4-drop enchantment, but if you have it in your opening hand, you get to begin the game with it on the battlefield, so you don't have to pay for it at all. Fantastic flash enabler. And then in this, I put this in the flash category because it synergizes well with the flash category. But what you want to do is play Seedborn Muse as fast as you can. If you can go get Seedborn Muse with like Worldly Tutor, or anything that lets you go get a creature card, Seedborn Muse is the one you want to get. And the reason is because on your turn, now with Vidalcan Orrery or Leyline of Anticipation, now I get to play stuff on your turn, but on your upkeep, I untap all my permanents. Yeah.
Everything. Creatures, now you have
land,
blockers, all your land.
Yep.
Such a terrible combination when you're playing against it.
Right. So it's anyway, so that's kind of the setup for this deck. Now we're going to talk about buddy cards. Buddy cards. I love the buddy cards in this deck. So one of the buddy cards in this deck is Howling Mine. Howling Mine is a 2-drop artifact. As long as it is untapped at the beginning of each player's turn, they draw an additional card, or on their upkeep or something like that. But they draw an additional card. So that's one, right? Next one is Kami of the Crescent Moon. It's a 2 blue for a 1/3. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. So there's two spells already where you draw an additional card on your upkeep. Let's talk about Heartwood Storyteller. Okay, so Heartwood Storyteller is a 1 and 2 green for a 2/3. Whenever a player plays a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. So there's 3. 3 spells that let you draw cards on somebody else's turn.
Which, I mean, card advantage is always a good thing.
Well, not on somebody else's turn. They let you draw on your upkeep.
On your upkeep.
But Heartwood Storyteller lets me draw every time you play a non-creature spell.
Right, which is great.
So
at first.
Well, yeah, it's good for everybody, and everybody I think misunderstands the deck at first. Like they're like, oh, cool, he's letting me draw cards, extra cards. Anyways, and then we're getting into extra land. I'm about to give you some extra land. So, extra land, Veteran Explorer. So, Veteran Explorer is a 1-drop 1/1. When it dies, each player gets to go search their library for 2 basic land cards and put them on the battlefield. That's that. So when my guy dies, it's beneficial to everybody. So everybody gets to get 2 land because somebody on my field died. That's kind of stupid. But it kind of sets up for the whole presence of being your buddy, right?
Right, yeah. So kind of what happens invariably is at first everything seems all chummy, and then it sneaks up on you, and we're going to lead into that here in a minute and tell you how it actually sneaks up on you.
Right. So the next one that we're going to talk about is an enchantment, Rites of Flourishing. So Rites of Flourishing is a 2 and 1 green for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Each player may play an additional land on each of his or her turns. So now I'm letting you draw another card. So that's 4. There's 4. Draw 4 cards on your upkeep. And I think by now you're kind of understanding. Kind of catching on to what I'm putting down, right?
Your hand gets really big,
really
fast.
big, yeah. So anyways, everybody gets to draw yet another card on their upkeep, and they get to play an additional land, so it's not as bad. It's it's like, okay, cool, I get to play 2 lands a turn.
Out of all the buddy cards that you've listed so far, this one's my favorite because of that additional land play.
Right, so, it kind of gets another card out of your hand.
Right.
It kind of lets you do what you need to do. So we're gonna talk about yet another card that lets you draw an additional card on your upkeep, and that is Dictate of Krufix. Dictate of Krufix is a 1 and 2 blue for an enchantment with flash. So you flash this in on somebody else's turn. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. So now we're up to 5, right?
5 additional
draws. 5 additional draws, potentially. And now we're going to tell you about another one. So the other one, which is real fun, especially when you have Seedborn Muse out. So you have Seedborn Muse out, and then you play Temple Bell. Is a 3-drop artifact, and you tap it, each player draws a card. So now we're up to 6. 6 total.
Just on one turn. So
when
it passes to the next person, and Temple Bell untaps, guess what he's going to do again?
Yep, everybody drawing.
So not only are we getting up to 6 on my turn,
yep,
I'm going to draw another one on everyone else's turn. So by the time it comes back around to me, potentially I've drawn 9 cards.
Yep.
In one cycle of turns.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's so much fun, and everybody starts picking up. At this point, people are starting to catch on to what you're doing.
Yeah.
They're like, so for stuff like that, when people start catching on to what you're doing, some people are gonna just let it ride because they like it,
right?
And then other people are gonna get nervous and they're gonna start trying to attack you and start trying to kill your stuff and bring you down a little bit. So there's a few protection spells in the deck. One of them is Angel's Grace. Angel's Grace is a 1-drop white instant with split second. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead.
And for those not familiar with split second, what that means is when that spell is cast, as long as it's on the stack, there are no answers for it. You cannot activate abilities. You can't play instants. You can't
respond.
You can't respond in any way.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that you could do is if you had
Morph is the only one that I've come across that actually gets around split second.
Right. Morph,
because it's a special ability.
It's a special ability that doesn't use the stack. Morph is actually a really weird. That'd be a cool thing to build a commander deck around.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for sure.
Yeah, just to see how that would work. But Morph is a really special thing. But anyway, so Teferi's Protection is a 2/1 white instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you have protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Now, while they're phased out, they're treated as though they don't exist. They phase in before you untap during your untap step, and then you exile Teferi's Protection. Now, the only problems that I've run into with this card. I love this card. It's saved me a lot, but it has also, believe it or not, it has also killed me. Because with Teferi's Protection, you play it, you kind of phase out, right? Your permanents phase out, but you're technically still there. That said, your life total can't change, so people can't attack you really. If they do, it's kind of pointless. But certain things you can't respond to. All your permanents phase out, so you don't have any land to respond, none of that, right?
Right.
So, for instance, you use Karn Liberated. Karn Liberated's ultimate ability, reset the game. Teferi's Protection does not protect you against that. I had to find that out the hard way, actually, which was really frustrating, but also really cool when you understand Karn Liberated's ability is just dumb. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Just reset the game, and then they get to use whatever they've exiled with Karn, and it's still on the field. It's crazy. And then another one that I've ran into, though, is like Approach. Approach the Second Sun.
Right.
If somebody wins the game, you can't respond. If they have a win condition and it comes out, oh, I win the game because of this.
Right.
You lose. Okay, so the next card that I want to talk about is Collective Voyage. All right, Collective Voyage is a 1 green for sorcery with Join Forces. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player searches his or her library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the total amount of mana paid this way. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle his or her library. So now, I pay 1, and then after that, starting with me, I pay any amount of mana. So for sake of argument, I pay 5, you pay 5. We're going to get 10 mana.
Yeah, and that's everybody. It's going to get 10 mana.
Everybody in the play group.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Because, now you have all the mana that you need.
Yep.
You've got some deck thinning going on, so you're more likely to get key cards that you need.
Right.
So this is actually one of those buddy cards that...
Yeah, it's a good buddy card.
Buddy card.
Yeah, it's like, hey, everybody work together, let's go get some land. Everybody needs land, let's go get land. Now, the next one is Minds Aglow. Minds Aglow is a 1 blue for a sorcery, Join Forces. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player draws X cards, where X is the total amount of mana paid this way. So, it's another one of those buddy cards. You get to... I'll tap 1. It works in a couple different ways. You either do it at the very beginning, or you do it at the end. But if you're doing it at the beginning, I tap 1, I tap a couple mana, you tap a couple mana. Everybody gets to go draw a few cards, right?
Right.
Now, at the late game, though, if I've got a bunch of mana, and we'll talk about how much mana you can potentially have here in a little bit. But believe it or not, I was playing with Billy, and I was playing with my wife in our little... We were playing just kind of a tabletop game, and I made both of them draw 101 cards.
101.
101 cards.
For those of you keeping count, you start with 99 in your library. So what happens is this card is great early game for everyone, and terrible late game for everyone.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about cards that are too good of friends, right? Too good of buddies. So I think everybody has that friend on Facebook or everybody has had a friend on Facebook that's just like, you friend them, it's like, cool, I got a new friend on Facebook, but then all of a sudden your entire feed is just blown up with nonsense and random stuff.
Or they're liking all your posts and they're commenting on everything, and it's all just a bunch of convoluted mess. And you're just like, dude.
Right. Or they post something awkward, like I just had a baby, like under a post where I was like, hey, I just got French fries, and they're like, hey, I just had a baby. What?
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you saying this to me right now? But anyway, so these are the cards that are too good of friends. Like when everybody starts realizing, this might be a problem, you know? might be a real problem. So the first one I want to talk about is Show and Tell. Okay, so Show and Tell is a 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card from his or her hand onto the battlefield. This is a really good card. It can also be a very, very bad card, right?
Right.
So with my particular deck, and we'll touch on these cards a little bit later, you want to put stuff like Consecrated Sphinx or Kozilek the Great Distortion or Avacyn Angel. So you want to put stuff like that onto the board for 3 mana as opposed to 8 or 10 or whatever they may be. So it's really, really bad. But everybody else gets to do the same thing, so you have to be careful about that. Everybody else can put down their own Kozilek, or everybody else can put down their own Ulamog, or...
What's really fun is when you don't have anything really great in your hand and everybody else is flopping out all this
big stuff and
terrible cards, and you're just like, oh man, So
you end up having to play a land.
Right. Yeah, you're just like, I got nothing. I got 3 cards in hand, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the next card we're going to talk about is Horn of Greed. So, Horn of Greed is a 3-drop artifact. Whenever a player plays a land, that player draws a card. So now we're up to 7? Yeah. 6, 7 draw 7. Spells, where now every time you do something, you're drawing for it.
Yeah.
Right? And I put this in the Too Good of Friends part because everybody has to play land. And not only that, but you force people to play land sometimes. But that being said, it's only during your...
you have to actually... play a land from your hand. It can't be a forced ability that makes you put a land out.
Right, it can't be a forced ability. It's when they play a land per turn, that's when they draw a card.
And this is bad because you, generally speaking, most people play a land at the beginning of their turn.
Right.
So now they're drawing that extra card, which could help, or it could put too many cards in their hand if they don't have a Reliquary Tower or something like that out.
Absolutely.
And so then you might have a whole bunch of good stuff, and you got to get rid of 1 or 2 or however many.
But Rites of Flourishing, that's different. So Rites of Flourishing is you may play an additional land per turn. So if you play 2, you're drawing 2.
Yeah.
So it's still bad, and it's one of those annoying I really need another land here. Now I got to draw for it, which is fine in some cases, but it's also not. So the next one that I want to talk about is one that's new from Ravnica Allegiance, and it is Smothering Tithe. Smothering Tithe is 3 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If that player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. So,
which is terrible for us.
So now that translates. Now we're up to 7. We're up to 7 extra draw spells. Okay, you play Smothering Tithe. Now your opponents have to pay 2 7 times. Otherwise, you're getting to make free mana.
Which, if anyone's doing calculations, you can obviously tell nobody's going to do that because then they're not going to be able to play anything that's in their hand.
Right.
So it really causes a problem when you're drawing 4 or 5 cards and you've got 14 mana, but you've got 8 cards in hand, you got to clear some of that out. So what you do is you don't pay the tax, and then he gets the treasure tokens, and then that creates all kinds of issues.
Yep, if you don't pay the tax, so now everybody's drawing 7, so that's on everybody's turn. So let's just say you're playing with 4 people, so that's 7, 14, and then 21. So 7, 14, 21. And now you got 21 mana for free.
Yeah, on top of the probably 10 or 12 you have at this point.
Right, and then you stack... So you got 21 mana. Now, with your Flash Enablers, you can play stuff like Minds Aglow. And now I can sack all of those artifact all those artifact tokens for mana, and instantly play Minds Aglow on your turn, so now everybody's drawing 21 cards.
Yeah.
Before the end of your turn.
And I think that's how you did the 101.
Yeah, it is.
It was because of that Smothering Tithe.
It is indeed. Yeah. So the next one that I want to talk about in Too Good of Friends is Dictative Karametra. So Dictative Karametra, we're talking about even more mana, right? So Dictative Karametra is 3 and 2 green For an enchantment with flash, so you can flash it in on somebody else's turn. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. So now if I tap a blue, it's tapping for 2 blue. I tap a red, 2 red, so on and so on.
Well, and the cool thing about this one, too, is the lands that tap for double, like, the ones that tap for, in your case, a green and a white.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose either a green or a white, so that's now tapping for 3.
Yep.
Temple of the False God, it's tapping for 3 colorless.
Yep.
So it's really cool. That actually is extremely helpful for everybody until you make us mill 101
cards.
Right. Basically, by drawing it all. So
right, exactly. So now I get to tap for all this mana, plus I get to use all the mana that you gave me from Smothering Tithe.
Yeah.
And play, draw 101 cards, right? And I'm sure you guys are wondering what happens when I draw 101 cards. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So
that's really interesting.
For some of you more experienced Magic players out there, I'm sure you know where this is headed. So for the next card on Too Good of Friends is Forced Fruition. So Forced Fruition is an insane enchantment. It's a 4 and 2 blue for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player draws 7 cards.
Yeah, any spell.
Any spell.
Any spell.
You want to you want to kill my Forced Fruition? Cool. Draw 7 cards first.
Right. Which isn't bad if you only have 1 card in hand.
Right. Well, right.
Which you never do because you're drawing all this extra stuff every single turn.
You're drawing 7 more cards anyway on your draw step basically. And now I'm making it to where every time you play a spell, you're drawing 7 cards. So that's dumb, and everybody hates it. And at this point, if you don't know what's going on, when you're at the table, everybody's like, "Oh boy, I'm drawing a bunch of cards. I'm going to mill out because I'm drawing so many cards."
Yeah, I'm gonna have nothing left in my library, which he's done to me before, and it snuck up on me. I mean, I saw kind of what he was doing, but because he had so much mana, he played like all this stuff, and before I knew it, game was over. Yep. And there's nothing I could do about it. It was just, it was so bad.
Yep. And it's pretty, especially with like Temple Bell. If I mill you out and you only got 1 card left, or you have no cards left, and then I tap Temple Bell and force you to draw, you're dead.
He did that to me.
That's it.
You made me draw 56 cards. Okay. I counted what was left in my library. It was I counted what was in my library, and it was exactly 56 cards.
Right.
Then he ended his turn.
Yeah.
Went to someone else, tapped Temple Bell, and killed me.
Yeah. It was tap Temple Bell. You're dead. So for those of you that don't know, those of you that are new Magic players, there's a rule in Magic: if you cannot draw a card from your deck when you're supposed to draw at any time, you lose the game.
Yeah. So I didn't see that one coming. I saw what he was trying to do eventually, but I didn't see that coming. I mean, who draws 56 cards
and then uses a buddy card that's supposed to help you to kill you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So that's just, and we'll expand more on the other win conditions. So that's just kind of a preview of what can happen with this deck.
Yeah, we're not even on win cons yet. But so with all of these buddy cards, you need protection. You need stuff that's going to protect you from dying, protect your creatures, your enchantments, all of this stuff from being board wiped, and all that kind of stuff. So the next card I want to talk about is Avacyn, Angel of Hope. So Avacyn is a 5 and 3 white for a legendary creature angel, 8/8. So it's got flying, vigilance, indestructible. Other permanents you control have indestructible. So now with Avacyn, everything's indestructible. So the only thing you can do is pad the exile a creature. Right. So you can pad the exile Avacyn if you want to.
Or neg one a bunch of counters.
Yeah, neg her out. You can do that.
So for those of you guys that don't know, new players, what have you, indestructible says that lethal damage and effects that say destroy cannot destroy whatever has indestructible. Correct. So in this case, board wipes that say destroy all creatures don't matter with Avacyn out.
Nope.
And anybody that's played Commander for any length of time knows that just about every deck wants to have a few board wipes in there, so that pretty much takes care of.
Now it doesn't work against Exile, stuff like that. Swords to Plowshares, the Path to Exile, and Merciless Eviction. It doesn't get around that. Now, if your stuff is hexproof, it's even better. Now, I don't have any way to make my stuff hexproof in here, but if somebody does go to target Avacyn, that is when you use stuff like Teferi's Protection. Yeah, you use Sunforger, unattached Sunforger, go get Teferi's Protection, phase out, your permanents phase out, Avacyn's fine. Avacyn's safe. And that'll also protect them from, exile board wipes and stuff like that too. So that's why we kind of went through all of that stuff first, is because we want to show you how to protect these things and protect your interests, as it were. So the next one I want to talk about is Progenitor Mimic. All right, so Progenitor Mimic is a 4, a green and a blue, for a creature shapeshifter 0/0. When you may have Progenitor Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If this creature isn't a token, create a token that's a copy of this creature. Right? So you're going to throw that on just about anything, but here's the one that you really want to throw it on, because every upkeep, remember, you're getting a copy of it. So I'm going to lead this into Platinum Angel. So you want to throw Progenitor Mimic on Platinum Angel, and remember, you can use Show and Tell to get Platinum Angel out, or Avacyn, or any of these higher drop spells. So Platinum Angel is a 7-drop artifact creature angel 4/4 with flying. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. It's not a legendary creature, so you throw a Progenitor Mimic on there. Now you're getting a Platinum Angel every upkeep.
Yeah,
and with Avacyn Angel out, they're all indestructible.
Yeah, so you can't get rid of the Platinum Angel, so therefore now I can't win the game. Yep. You can't lose the game.
Yep. And I'm copying that every upkeep, so now you got more than one to deal with.
Right, and now you've bought so much time that your alternate win conditions are now easily obtainable.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a mess. By the time that happens, it's incredibly hard to beat you.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. The amount of versatility with this deck is actually pretty crazy. With Sunforger and all of your fetch spells and then drawing cards. And so comes a point during the game where you don't even need Sunforger anymore, because you have everything in your hand. Yeah. You play Reliquary Tower again, your entire deck is your whole hand. Yeah. Right? It's pretty cool the way that works. So now we're going to get into the win conditions of this deck. All right. So one of the biggest win conditions in this deck is Laboratory Maniac. So Laboratory Maniac is a 2 and a blue for a 2/2 creature human wizard. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead.
Which he's also done to me.
So, as you can probably tell, this is one of the most common win conditions in this deck. I draw a bunch of cards. All my opponents are drawing a bunch of cards, and they're drawing more cards than I am with Forced Fruition. So it's more common for them to mill out, but if they have some sort of way to cycle their library back into their deck or whatever, I just flash in Laboratory Maniac. I force myself to draw cards. Can't, I win. So really, really good win condition. The next part of the win condition species in this deck is Consecrated Sphinx. So Consecrated Sphinx is a 4/2 blue for a 4/6 flying creature Sphinx. So it's got flying. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. So now, with those 7 extra draws, now I get to draw 14 just on your turn. Yeah. And 14 on the next turn, 14 on the next turn, So I get to draw a ton of cards, plus I can play them with Flash. I get to untap all my permanents on every turn. So now I've just got bukus of cards to do whatever I want to with, right? So by this time, I'm sure you can kind of anticipate the fact that I can play whatever I want, whenever I want to. Yeah. Just about.
It's really annoying, by the way, when you're playing against it. Playing with it would be so much fun.
Right. When you get to this point, it's almost kind of hard to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to lose with the deck. So letting me get to this point is kind of weird. But So the next card that I want to talk about as far as win conditions is Expropriate. So Expropriate is a 7/2 blue for a sorcery, and it's got Council's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile Expropriate. So I think everybody understands that when you get to extra turns in any deck, it's pretty much game over. Like,
yeah, I mean, because you're getting to do everything you want to do on several different turns in a row.
Right.
We can't do anything, especially because if we've either paid the tax or tried to empty our hands, we have no mana open.
Right.
So we can't, if you do have it, we couldn't counter anything. We don't have answers for that, and it's just...
Right.
And then there comes a point where you have to pick money, but then you're losing your best stuff.
Yeah, you're losing your Kozilek.
Yeah, and then he's using it against you, so there's really no good way to combat that unless you saw it coming and
I'm taking your
save
Ulamog.
some mana open. Yeah. Well, I mean,
or I'm taking your Smothering Tide. That would be cool.
Right, or you're taking a Galta, or you're
Yep.
taking whatever you want, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's so difficult.
Expropriate's ridiculous because you either get their stuff or you get to take extra turns. So it's... And anybody... I've never seen Expropriate played where the person who's playing it hasn't won, I don't believe.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that, but...
And most people want to say money, but man, it's so hard because...
They don't want to lose anything.
They don't want to lose their stuff.
And keep in mind, with Expropriate, you can take their land.
Right.
So for instance, if I'm making you draw a bunch of cards and you have Reliquary Tower, I take your Reliquary Tower.
Which he did.
I've done that.
Actually, he did that.
I've done that. I did that to my wife.
Yes, you did it to her, and she
I
didn't
borderline
like that
slept
because,
on the couch that night.
Well, she had like 20-some cards in her hand.
Right.
And then you let it go to her next turn, and she just had to dump just so much good stuff. So
she did.
By the time Expropriate comes out, you're pretty much guaranteed to win at this point.
Yeah, just about. But if not, the next card I want to talk about is Kozilek, the Great Distortion. It's an 8 and 2 colorless for a 12/12 legendary creature Eldrazi. When you cast Kozilek, the Great Distortion, if you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. It has Menace, so...
Has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures.
Correct. It has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Now, the biggest part of Kozilek is discard a card with converted mana cost X. Counter target spell with converted mana cost X. So now, every card in your hand, which is most likely almost your entire deck, has turned into a counter spell.
Yeah, which is great for you.
Right.
So, for example, somebody goes to, let's say they do have mana open, they go to counter Expropriate. Say they're using a counter spell. All you got to do is plop out a 2-drop card and counter it. And here's the bad part. That's an activated ability that's doing the countering, so you can't counter that unless you use something like Disallow.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. So that's an activated ability. So Disallow would counter that.
But the chance of you...
Void Slime.
Yeah.
Disallow, Void Slime. There's a couple other ones. There's Stifle. There's a couple of things that can counter stuff like that, but not very many, and you rarely see them in decks, other than Disallow and Void Slime in a few decks.
Right, but then, let's say you play Disallow, all he has to do is then drop a 3, and then you counter Disallow. So, when Kozilek's out, and he tries, it makes it nearly impossible to have answers. So, what you're seeing with this deck is if he gets anywhere near late game, it's pretty difficult to take care of. I mean, it just really is.
Yeah, it's a game stopper for sure. The next card that I want to talk about, that's a really bad win condition, is Insurrection. Okay, Insurrection is a 5 and 3 red for a sorcery. Untap all creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. They gain haste until end of turn. So, gain control of all of them. Gain control of every creature on the board. They gain haste. I don't even pick them up. I don't put them on my side of the board. I just say, hey, congratulations, all of your creatures that are out, they're all going to attack you.
Yeah, which in a lot of cases at this point in the game is lethal.
Yeah. And because now they don't have anything to defend against their own creatures. They're not expecting their own creatures to attack them at all.
Right.
Right.
I mean, usually your creatures are there to help you, not to kill you.
Right. And now that said, now because you have Flash out, you've got Leyline and Vedalken Orrery. Let's just say, for instance, that they're attacking you, and you need a way out of it. Right? Insurrection is a way out of it. Now that you can cast it at instant speed, it's going to remove those creatures from combat. It's going to remove. It's going to basically remove everything from the combat at that point, and nothing's really going to happen.
So you may not be able to use it against them, but you can take it away from them.
Right.
So
right. It's pretty cool. That being said, it's also very dangerous because if you do Insurrection. Or if you do Reigns of Power. Reigns of Power is the next one that we're going to be covering. So Reigns of Power. Reigns of Power is a 2 and 2 blue instant. Untap all creatures you control and all creatures target opponent controls. You and that opponent each gain control of all creatures the other controls until end of turn. Those creatures gain haste until end of turn. So now this card's dangerous. This card's dangerous for a few reasons. I have it in the deck, and the reason that I do is basically for the same thing. I can take control of somebody else's creatures and attack somebody with them. That said, if you have Platinum Angel out and you are below 0, you instantly die. Instantly die. So you don't want to play Reigns of Power if you're in a situation like that. You really need to kind of weigh the circumstances before you do something like that, or just keep it in your hand for Kozilek as a counterspell, right?
Right. Sounds like timing makes a huge difference with this card. Because if somebody's playing with full-on aggro and you've only got a couple of creatures out, you do that. Maybe you can put that aggro player out of the game.
With their own creatures.
With their own stuff, so that now all you have to do is focus on the other people that might be playing mid-range or something else.
Correct. Yeah, so it's a good card, but you do have to be careful with it. Just like Teferi's Protection, you got to be careful with that too. But anyways, so a couple of honorary mentions that I want to talk about. Deflecting Palm. So Deflecting Palm is a red and a white for an instant. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that source's controller. So, for instance, one of my favorite things to do with this card is when somebody plays a Storm deck, like and they play Aetherflux Reservoir, right? They're gonna pay 50 life. They're gonna pay 50 life to do 50 damage to you. In case you don't know, you only start the game with 40, right?
Yep.
So they're doing 50 damage to you. Well, I play Deflecting Palm. Now you're taking 100.
Yeah, because you had to deduct 50 from your own life total, and now it's being
right. So now you just took 100. You're out of the game, and now I get to focus on somebody else. So that's a really cool ability. A really cool pseudo win condition.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely turns the tide in your favor because if someone's gonna go lethal at you,
right,
and you just go lethal right back at them for 2 mana,
right, and then and they're like, "Man, I was about to kill you," and it's like, "Oh, psych,
not happening."
You thought you were, but. So adding on to that, the next card and honorary mention is Comeuppance, and I'm not exactly sure to say that, but Comeuppance sounds right. Comeuppance. So it's a 3 and 1 white for an instant. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn by sources you don't control. If damage from a creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage.
To that creature.
If damage from a non-creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that source's controller. So it's the same thing. If it's creatures, that's going to kill all the creatures. You know, right. Galta, what have you. Galta's dead. Kozilek's dead.
Eldrazi's are dead.
Most Eldrazi's
Some
are dead.
of them.
And then if it's something like Aetherflux Reservoir again, you're dead.
Yep.
You know? So I just killed you because you tried to kill me. And so I love this deck because it's like, I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to be really, really good friends with you. You know, I'm going to be too good of friends and start, kind of annoying you a little bit. And then when you unfriend me on Facebook, I'm going to kill you.
Yes.
So it's like, it's almost like a, I should name it Ted Bundy. Like, it's a Ted Bundy deck.
Yeah,
that's actually what I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna name it Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy group hug.
There you go.
There we go. So yeah, you're really good friends. You're kind of charismatic, and then by the time the end of the game, the ending of the game's coming around. What do you want to do? You want to kill me? Nah, you take 50 life instead.
Yeah, and it's really crazy because it sneaks up on you. You're
It
playing
does.
with it, and you're getting all this stuff, and you're so caught up as the player playing against it of being able to do all your things, and you see this person over here that doesn't have a whole lot going on with their board state other than some land and maybe an artifact and an enchantment and stuff like that. So you kind of leave them alone. You focus on some of the other players.
Right.
And then before you know it, now the one that was helping you is by far and away the biggest threat, and you may not even be able to stop it.
Right. You might not be able to do anything about it at this point. And at the beginning of even at the very beginning, when you play your first land, for instance, another honorary mention, when you play your first land, it could be Forbidden Orchard. And Forbidden Orchard is awesome because you tap it, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, right? And it comes in untapped. But whenever you tap Forbidden Orchard for a mana, target opponent creates a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. So now I can tap my mana and just start giving people 1/1 tokens.
Yeah, and we're thinking, oh, cool, chump blockers.
Cool,
That's awesome.
chump blockers. Yeah, I am becoming your friend until you realize that I'm actually just Ted Bundy trying to kill you.
Then he murders you.
Right. So anyways, it's a really fun deck. I really encourage all of you to go check it out. It's going to be in our description below on Tapped Out, so you can check out all of the cards in this deck. There are a lot more that we didn't cover today, but we wanted to cover most of all of them. So we really hope you enjoyed the episode. We really hope you enjoyed all the cards that you got to see today and kind of how things can work differently. One thing I really wanted to do with this deck was make it kind of a unconventional way of winning. Something that was a little different, something you don't see every day, especially with the new sets coming out. You don't see Nexus of Fate every 5 seconds, infinite turns, stuff like that. So I wanted to do something that really was kind of just odd. Question of the day.
What deck text do you guys want to see? We're going to have deck text from the upcoming Wizard Wars episode in the next few, but we also want to know what you want to see. That way we can customize the content and maybe get some other ideas that we hadn't even thought of.
Of course. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we get stuff that you guys want to see on the table. So if you guys want to see a crazy commander combo, like the new Prime Speaker Vanifar, we had that requested actually. We're going to do that. I'm working on that deck right now.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
It's a slow process, so you'll probably see that in April-ish, March, April. But we're definitely going to get that out for you. So anything you guys want to see, leave us a comment in the section below. Let us know what it is. And we will see you guys next time on MTG Alchemy. What's up, Wizards? I'm Coy. Nope. Today, we're going to be talking about Kynaios. Nope. Shut up, Billy. Commander, we're going to be talking... We're going to be doing...